I moved from the Philippines to Dubai back in 2006, and when I moved, I absolutely had nothing. Even my luggage was borrowed. I had $500 worth of pocket money, and that's all I had. But I had my mind and my heart absolutely full of goals and dreams, and I was absolutely enamored and ready to take on and dredge on and do things that I needed to do to be able to achieve the dreams that I had and the goals that I had for myself. As a matter of fact, when I left the Philippines, it was the very first time that I ever traveled. It was the very first time that I ever was on an aircraft. It was the very first time that I ever entered into an airport. It was the very first time for many things for me. UAE is not just a country of cement and jungle of buildings. The UAE really is a country of opportunities, most especially to people who do not have any opportunity from their country of origin. And I do have immense respect to everyone, every single person who take that risk, who spread their wings and fly and dredge on to take that unknown future and not be afraid. Again, I lived in Dubai for a little over a decade. From having nothing, I was able to improve my living conditions. So I drove a nice car, I lived in a nice neighborhood, I had a good job, I traveled at least twice a year on holiday out of the country. I was a branch manager for a German multinational company. I managed the Middle East and Africa. I frequently traveled in the Middle East region for business. I traveled to Europe for business. Traveling was just a common thing for me. It was not necessarily a big deal if I hop on a plane in the morning, I travel to another country, and in the evening I'm back and I do the same thing the following day. I had a premium membership in one of the most expensive fitness clubs in the country, and it was all good. And the tricky thing about it was that I was absolutely on my comfort zone during the time. Everything was so comfy already. Everything was familiar. I was absolutely in my familiar territory. And then in 2016, I decided to take my immigration pathway very seriously. I landed in Canada by end of March 2018. In 2017, I already had some questions in my head. Do I really leave this comfort zone? Do I really leave this familiar territory to yet again start another beginning, to yet again find a community, to yet again find a job, to yet again find a house, to yet again find everything that I already had existing in Dubai during the time? And these questions came to me like a tide from the sea coming towards me. Before, in 2016, when I decided that I will take my immigration seriously, those questions never really entered my head. My focus was to just go and make it happen. And then 2018 or 2017 came, and then this question started popping in my head. I guess I was afraid. I never had those questions when I was in the Philippines, when I left the Philippines in 2006. And quite remarkably, I had those questions when I left Dubai, mainly because when I was in the Philippines, I didn't have anything to lose really. But this time, it is absolutely 100% different. Everything was already settled with me. But the thing is, if I had decided based on fear, and then there were so many things that I wouldn't have made any decisions on. And that's one of the things that you have to really think. You make decisions based on what you want to happen, not based on fear or based on what you do not want to happen. What do you want to happen? And then decide from then on. And really, my long-term plan was to really live in a more permanent community. And I think many people from the Middle East who are watching this video would agree that living and working in the Middle East is temporary. Your legal residence is mainly anchored on your job. If you lose your job and then you lose your legal residence until such time that you find a job again. And such is not the case here in Canada. If you are a permanent resident, you are a permanent resident. Nobody can kick you out of the country because you do not have a job. Another pro in the Middle East is the taxation, of course. And, a dollar earned is a dollar more. So if you earn $1 more on your income, that whole dollar is yours. Taxation did not exist during the time. In Canada, it's a totally different scenario. A dollar earned, a dollar more is not a dollar earned, really. It's because of taxation. But the beauty of that is that there is social security, there is the federal healthcare, or the healthcare that is accessible to everyone. In the Middle East, you have to have an insurance. There are positives and there are negatives. And this is the same case in any situation, in any scenario. There are always the positives and the negatives. The question is that, how are you willing to face the positives and the negatives, and how prepared are you to accept these positives and negatives? I landed in Canada, and the first job I had was not a managerial role, and I was prepared to accept such a situation. It was a trade-off I was ready to accept. Another comparison is that Dubai is a hub. It is a technology hub, and it is a travel and tourism hub in the whole of Middle East. So then the city, or the country, the UAE, is essentially the headquarters for many multinational companies. And because of it being a headquarter for many multinational companies, there is the intense and immense requirement for talent. And the range of salary in the UAE or in the Middle East in general is quite high, as I would compare it here in Canada. I live in the Atlantic region. The Atlantic region is not a tech hub. It is not a travel and tourism hub. Multinational companies do not intend or do not choose to stabilize or establish their headquarters here because it is not a hub. These multinational companies choose the bigger provinces, most especially Ontario, Alberta, and BC, to establish their international headquarters from within Canada. And as a result, the job opportunities are not as much, really. But then the competition on job is not as much either. And this becomes actually funny because I earned more in Dubai than I did here in Canada, but I was able to save more here than I did in Dubai, mainly because of lifestyle, really. Eating out creates so much costs. It truly is. Going out on activities, traveling requires, it does take so much cost. And because of those costs taken out from my entire lifestyle in general, I was able to save so much more. But you also have to remember that taxation here is quite hefty. Again, our range here is 15% on commodities, or the harmonized sales tax. This is essentially the tax that people pay when they buy anything. Even if you bought a new or a brand new or a used car, the buyer will have to pay 15% on top of the cost of the car. And then you have to consider insurance of the car. The insurance of car here is, whoa, it's hefty. The average insurance cost that I did pay back in Dubai was that the yearly insurance that I paid then is equivalent to about 3 months on average that I pay here. But I know for a fact that people who have lived here and who have driven here for more than 7 years do pay less. You also have to consider that we have to pay property tax if you own a property, or if you rent, you have to insure the apartment, and this is something that is a common practice here as well. What I'm getting at is that there are various costs as well. Though I was able to save more here, but there are a lot more additional costs, really, as compared to when I was in Dubai. Having said all the pros and the cons of living in the UAE and in Canada, the question now is, was it really worth moving? Leaving the lifestyle that took me 10 years, over 10 years, to develop and improve, really worth doing, and start a new life again in Canada? And I would like to answer this question with a statement by Ronald Reagan. Ronald Reagan once said, "The world belongs to the brave." Anything that takes you out of your comfort zone is absolutely worth the try. Because if you do not move out of your comfort zone, then how could you possibly identify if you are indeed learning, or if you are indeed improving, or if you are stuck? You have to move out of your comfort zone. I read one statement by Jennifer Aniston saying, everything and anything you ever wanted is just out of your comfort zone. Anything you could possibly imagine. And this is true. So do I recommend that you guys move here to Canada? And absolutely yes, I would say that. Now, you must certainly be serious and decided to move here. That is one. And the second is you must accept that there are trade-offs. There was one statement that I read, and this statement truly attracted me. The statement says, if you want to have things that you have never had before, you have to be the person you have never been before. And you have to do the things you have never done before. Thank you very much for watching this video. Please hit the like, share, subscribe button right here, here, and here. Check out my website, and I certainly hope to see you on my next video.